Hi everyone, you are on SD3 channel, and today we are going to build REST API to manage cars in our Spring Boot application. My name is Dima, I am software engineer with almost 15 years of experience, and let me remind you what we are doing here right now. We are building car maintenance tracker application. As a backend, we use Spring Boot and Postgres. We are building the REST API there. As a front-end, we are going to use custom ChatGPT, and we can integrate ChatGPT with our REST API using OpenAPI specification. Yeah, OpenAPI. Yeah, that's right. For the OpenAPI and in general for the API first, we are using OpenAPI Maven generator plugin. I will show you it a little bit later, but today I think some of them, those 3 people who watched my previous streams already know what is it, but I will explain it once again. So the plan for today is to build cars API. So let me show you what we are going to build. In general, I want to build some Crud endpoints. This is create, update, and delete. And actually, it makes sense to add one more endpoint to search cars by the user. So according to the REST API, our endpoints should be something like that. So those are our users. Each user can, not can, but it should have the cars. So this is a base URL for the cars. So, and get endpoint, this is actually the search. We are getting the cars that owns this user with this ID. Also, we need to add the post endpoint, post, to create the create cars for this user. Also, we need to add the put endpoint. Put endpoint. I'm thinking about the post endpoint will add the cars. No, the post endpoint just create a new car, just one, create the new car. But if we want to update this car, this is the car ID, we need to adjust a URL a little bit, update the car, create a new car here. Okay, and yeah, maybe we will need to delete the car as well. So delete. So that is the plan for today. So, and yeah, let me show you the Maven plugin that we use. Yeah, somewhere here. This is the OpenAPI generator Maven plugin. We write a YAML file, users YAML. Come on, YAML. Yeah, here it is. This is OpenAPI specification. It's like, yeah, it's what the Swagger can do for us. But the idea is to define the API first and generate the controller layer and corresponding DTOs automatically. So this is one of the reasons why I want to use this plugin. And the second one, I personally like API first idea that you need to create a new endpoint or extend existing endpoint, whatever. You need to do it first, and then you have to update the corresponding logic in Java code. So yeah, so this is our users endpoints. This is the endpoint we already built to create a new user. And we define those are some settings for this plugin, so you can read documentation if you want, but in general that is the settings I like. And we defined this user URL, user's YAML file here, and we named it as a user API, and we say that you need to generate the controller interfaces into this package, the API, and models, those DTOs that we use in controllers. So the models should be generated in this folder. Also, we have a separate auth API, authentication API. It works absolutely the same. And today we will need to add the cars API, right? So we will create a cars YAML. This should be cars is the users, just user. So let's keep it as a car. So this is the car. And let's create the YAML file. It should be here, cars YAML. Yeah, by the way, this project is open source. You can download it, clone it in the GitHub, watch what I'm doing here. So everything is open, and feel free to contribute anything you want to do with this repository. So yeah, maybe we need to change the title here. This is the authentication API. Authentication API. This is the user API. And this is the car API, right? So let's define the first endpoint from our list. So I think we need to start with the adding the new car. So this is the URL. We say that we need to make the post method. Let's take a look what we have here. Maybe we can copy paste a little bit. So the summary, this is the create a new car. This is the description, creates a new car for the user. Operation ID is create. So actually this is the name of our method in the controller that will be generated by this plugin. So the tag is cars, and this is the part of the name of the class. I will show you very soon. So the request body we can comment a little for a moment, and we need to define the parameters. As you can see, we have the pass variable here, the user ID, and we can say that this is the user ID. It's in the pass. It's required. What else? Content schema. It's. Can we define the format here? No. Yeah, the content schema. Come on, I think we can define it like this. This is the integer and format int64. That means this is the long. So I think we have the user entity and ID is long here, and that is how you can define the long in OpenAPI specification. So we will need some request body, right? We will define the separate section with the schemas, and we need to define the DTO to create the car. So create car request. So I name every request related DTO with the request at the end, with the suffix request to be sure that we receive this DTO and to be able to distinguish between those DTOs that we get into the parameters and those DTOs that we are going to return back. Okay, yeah, this is the type object, and we need to define some properties. So probably I want to make it as simple as possible. Actually, we can build separate tables with the make, model, with engine types, fuel types, and so on. A lot of things can be extracted to the separate tables. We can populate it with the data and so on, but this is the only MVP, and I want to make it as simple as possible. So that is why I would propose you to just define it as a strings. So the make model type string year, maybe it could be interesting. Year can be just int. So minimum and yeah, maximum. Okay, we will skip the validation at this moment, but in general we can write our own annotation that checks that this is the current year or previous one, or the year from the past. Engine, it could be the string as well, for example 1.4 TSI or something like that. So this is the engine. And fuel type, it could be the string as well. There are a lot of different cars on different types of fuel. I don't want to create the enum at this moment, at least now. We will test our MVP and decide if we will need to, to restrict those parameters at the very end. But as for me, we should allow user to do what he wants. This is his car, and he should identify his cars as he wants. Okay, let's keep it like this. So what should be required? I think the make and model should be required, at least. For example, Audi A4. But all of this, everything else, it should be fine if user just say that he has Audi A4 and that's it, without the year or engine or whatever. Okay, so, and we need to say that request body here is user our schema component, yeah, and we need to define the responses. We should respond 4 or 2 or 1. This is the HTTP status code for created. Let's take a look how we defined it in users. It's actually the same as the request body. So car successfully created, and we need to build the response. So I prefer to use separate DTOs, as I said. We are much more flexible in such way. For example, in the request, we don't have any IDs. We don't have the, for example, created date or anything else. So this is the very different set of properties. Yeah, some of them are duplicated, but you are flexible to extend this one and this one separately. So we can add the ID This is the type int, format int64, and yeah, maybe we can created add field. This is type date time, as far as I remember. I can be wrong. Okay, and let's try to generate it. I'm sorry, there is a reference missing. Yeah, that's better. Okay, there is some error. What is the problem? It should be here. Date time DTO. We don't have such. There is some different type date local. Let me take a look in my another project. I used it previously. Where is it? Where is the... I don't have the contracts here. Okay, OpenAPI Maven generator plugin, date time format. Where is it? There is a date. It's local date, but we need the date time. Date time. So the type string, but format is... I was almost correct. So the type is string, but the format is the date time. Okay. Let's try to generate. Yeah, build is green. So I can show you that we have some classes generated for us. This is the car API. This is the cars controller. And as you can see, this is the validated. That means all the request bodies and parameters, everything else should be validated if there is some JAVAX validation annotations present. This is the path for our first endpoint. This is the Swagger type. This is the Spring related mapping. We say here that it's post uses this URL and produces and consumes application JSON. And 2 DTOs was generated, but first of all, there is a request parameter. You can see it's required and it's present in the path. And usually this is the Swagger annotation as well. Not the Swagger, but yeah, this is the Swagger, as you can see. And this is the Spring path variable. You need to mark path variables with this annotation. So why is it integer? It should be long. Schema type int. Okay, OpenAPI specification type long. Data types. Integer. And I just say int. It should be integer. And do we have... Yeah, this should be integer as well. Let's regenerate it quickly. And go back to take a look what we've got. Close it. And yeah, this is the long and we get create car request DTO generated. This suffix is defined in the POM XML, so it will add DTO for each class it generates. Actually, it's data transfer object, just to be clear what is it. So, and as you can see, make and model, this is the year, engine and fuel type, everything that we defined. Make and model have the not null annotation. Maybe it makes sense to mark it as a not blank, maybe. So let's make the validation a little bit stricter. Min length, I don't know, just it should be something here, at least one symbol. Okay, we are ready to go. Let's implement our first endpoint. As you remember, we are using a Spring Modulit, so each package is a separate module in our application. So this is the car, we have the API package, and here we are going to implement the cars controller. Is it correct naming? Yeah, user controller, auth controller, and cars controller, right? Yeah, looks good, and it implements the car controller API that we defined. Yeah, so we need to mark the controller as the REST controller. We are going to inject something through the constructor. As you know, the Spring preferred way to inject beans into the other beans is through the constructors. And we can define the constructor by our own, but I prefer using the Lombok annotations that will generate this constructor for us. So it's just looks cleaner. It doesn't work in 100 cases, but in the most cases you can define it like this and be happy. Okay, so and we need to overwrite create method. So this is what we need to implement. So, and I want to define the car service. Let's create it, and I want to put it into the service package. Yeah, the package is created automatically. So this is the service. We will need to inject something inside too. Okay. And yeah, the car service should return the newly created car. This should be the car entity in our case. And we put previous entities here in the repository. So let's create the repository package, repository. Let's define some interface for the car repository. We mark it as a repository as usual. And yeah, we need to extend from Crud repository. There is nothing here. So we need to define our entity, right? Car entity. Yeah, this should be the table cars table name. Yeah. As you remember, I hope at least some of you, we do not use Hibernate here, and we don't use Spring GPA. We use Spring Data JDBC. So it's much simpler, but we have full control under the request. We are executing against the database. we are safe against the n+1 problems. We don't have any lazy loading problems, any hidden requests to the database, and so on. I want to have the full control, and believe me, I'm as an experienced developer who worked with Hibernate more than 10 years. I absolutely hate it. So I prefer use something else if I can. So let's define the entity here. So this is the ID, not blank. This is the make. Thank you, IntelliJ. Not blank. This is the model. IntelliJ, come on. What else do we have? We have year, integer year. It's integer because it can be null. So we have the engine type, right? What is the name? And just in engine. Okay, engine. Engine. And the fuel type. Fuel type. And what else do we need is local date time is created at, and maybe updated it. Do we need it? Maybe we'll add it in the future. So just keep it simple. But in general, it's good practice to add the created at as well, just to track when this record was updated last time. Sometimes it can help, but not so often, if to be honest. So usually you need to investigate the logs and so on. It's much more helpful. So here we need to say that this is the car entity, and this is the ID. Yeah, and one more thing that I forgot here, but it's very important. We need to say that we have the reference to the user, right? User ID, and it cannot be null. It should be present. Okay. So, and here we have the car entity created. This is the created car. So we call the service create and say just create the car for us and provide the request DTO and the user ID. So this should be executed in the transaction. So we should insert the correct car into the database, or do not insert anything. It should be atomic. So I want to define the mapper for us because we need to convert the user ID and this DTO into the user entity to be able to store it into the database. So we are using a mapstruct to create the converters for us. Car mapper, or maybe let me take a look at the naming. I would like to keep the consistency of the namings. User details, user mapper. Yeah, this should be the car mapper. And we say that this is the mapper. And the component model is the Spring. It helps mapstruct understand how to build the converter, and the newly created converter will be marked as the Spring Bean. So I want to inject it into our car service, the mapper. So, and what we need is we need to get the car entity generated. So this is the car, and we want to ask the mapper to convert our parameters into the car entity. So this is to user method. We just want to create. No, this is the create car request DTO. Please create the method for us. And I think the names of the fields are matching. So for example, user ID is here and here. And for example, model, make, year, and agile, and so on has the same naming as here. So Mapstruct will be able to map these fields automatically for us. I will generate I will build the project, and we will see the generated implementation, and we will take a look if everything is fine. And at the very end, we will write some integration tests to be sure that everything is fine, so we didn't lose anything. So, and yeah, we just ask to store the car into the database. And on the controller layer, so we've got the created car, and now we need to convert this car entity into the response. Again, we have two separate classes that represents the car. But for example, in the car entity, we have the user ID field, and here we don't have it. So there is no sense to add the user ID to this DTO, because our URL already consists the user ID. Here it is. So it's not necessary to provide it. So, and there are a lot of different use cases when you have one type of the data in the database and another type of the data that you want to return back to the client. So that is why we need to separate those classes. It should be separate, believe me. And you need to have a separate request DTOs for each operation, because again, for example, here we can create a lot of things, but for example, we want to allow user to update only these three fields. And if we will reuse this DTO for the update, me as a developer could be disappointed if I will take a look on the method definition, or for example, as some front-end engineer will write the client for your application, and he will take a look, okay, there is 5 fields, that means I need to provide all of them, and I will be able to change, for example, model name or anything else. But in reality, you can't, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the naming for the API level mappers, user API mapper, and we need to define the car API mapper as well. So there is a mapper, car API mapper. Interface is the same, so we mark it as a mapper. Component model is the Spring. So I want to inject it into our controller. This is the mapper. So, and I want to return the mapper to this one. So let's create this method. And again, the names of the fields are the same in both of our entities, and the Mapstruct shouldn't have any problems to map fields from the car entity into the create car response DTO. One more thing that we need to do is, this is the migration script. So no one updated the database. We need to create the database by our own. And Flyway helps us to execute the scripts according to their version in the order. So we can execute those scripts automatically on the application start. So you can be sure that all those scripts are executed and the schema of the database is up to date. So let's define it as one 0.1. Not sure. It should not correspond to your application version. Not necessary, but you need to have some, versioning to keep the order of your scripts. So here we want to say that create the table if not exist. Why IntelliJ doesn't work like this? Create table. Okay, cars. Select dialect. Okay, global. This should be the Postgres. Postgres, where are you? Yeah, here it is. If not exist, no. Come on. Okay, let's take a look. This is the ID definition. This is the new way how you need to define. Come on. This is the new way how the IDs should be defined in the Postgres right now. So previously I used just big serial as the type and the primary key, and that's it. But this is new way how the Postgres guys recommends you to generate IDs. What else do we have? We have the model, varchar. Oh, maybe we need to restrict the maximum length in our contract, because if you will define it on the database, some restriction, for example, 255, and there is no restrictions here, there is a way that our application, our API can fail. So let's say that max length is the following, maximum doesn't matter here. Engine should be so long as well. Yeah, let's keep it like this, so we can adjust the validation if we will need. Okay, so varchar 255, it should be not null. Then the make should be the first. Then we have the year, it should be integer, can be null. You can see this is the different color, so maybe year is the Postgres keyword in some way. We will test and take a look. So the engine, varchar 255, and fuel type, it should be the same. What? I don't like this formatting, if to be honest. Yeah, and one more thing that is very important. This should be the reference to the user, big int, not null, and it should references to the user's ID, something like that. I don't know what's wrong with my formatting. IntelliJ. Something's wrong with IntelliJ. I don't know. He should propose me. Maybe the database is not running. No, it's running. Let's try our script here. So this is the reference to the user table. IntelliJ can resolve it. This is the ID. So we say that user ID references to the users table to this column. So it should be created without the problems. I hope so. Okay, let's keep it like this. And let's quickly implement other endpoints, and maybe next time we will we will write the integration test, and we'll take a look if everything is working fine. So we need to implement the get. Let's quickly copy and paste it. What I copied, post, no. Post. Yeah, this should be the get cars by user ID, searches cars by user ID, more or less the same. This is the find by user ID. This is the same. ID of the user is in the path. There is no request body, right? And we need to define the car list, or maybe something like that, car item, or just car response. So it should be the same actually, but I want to have it separately from the create car. No, let's reuse it, maybe car details response. This could be the car details response, and we can reuse it. And let's define here, we need to return the car list response, or just return the array. Let's return the array. I can show you how to do it. So there is a type array, and there is items as far as I remember. And here we can define the reference to the car details. This is the get. What else do we need? We need to define the put as well, but it have a little bit different URL, right? Here it should be /cars/car ID, and this is the put method. Update. This is the update car details. Yeah, why not? And description again, update user car details, something like that. As for me, it's the same. Maybe we can get rid of something, description or summary. Nothing to describe a lot here. Update. This is the user ID, and the second one is the car ID. It's long as well, so the request body should be different, maybe. Update car request, but in our case, maybe let's keep it like this. It's absolutely the same as the create car request, but I want to have the copy in case if you will need to separate the create fields and update fields. So it returned the same car details response. And one more thing is we need to implement the delete method. Deletes delete car details, deletes car details. This is the delete. Parameters is the same. Request body are not necessary. It should return 200. Car is successfully deleted. And I think there is nothing to return back. And we need to adjust status codes here. Should be 200. And here as well. Let's generate it quickly. Something is wrong. Create. Yeah, that we renamed this DTO. You remember? So it should be car details response DTO, and we need to return it here as well. Okay. Okay, build is green, and let's implement other endpoints very quickly. So I can override the methods from the interface. I don't like the sorting, maybe update, yeah, create, update, and delete, and the search. I can show you very quickly what was generated. So this is the create, we already seen it. This is the pass for the delete method. And as you can see, this is the HTTP delete. This is the pass. This is the come on, pass variables that we need for delete. So everything that we need here. Again, this is the Swagger. This is the search method. As you can see, this is the URL for it, HTTP method, and so on. So it says that it produces the JSON, and the same for update. So nothing unusual. And let's implement it super quickly. So here we need to get back the entity updated car. So, and we want to say to the service, please update the car that belongs to the user with those fields. It should be done in the transaction as well. So, and here we want to return it back. We have the method already implemented for us. Okay, let's keep it like this. So here I want to write the method. I'm not sure if the repository, let's take a look. Repository, there is just save method. Okay, let's do it like this. So I want to find first by user ID and end ID. So I want to find the car actually. This should be the optional car entity. Why I'm searching what? It's fine. Why I'm searching by user here? Because some other user can try to update that car, the car that he doesn't own. So we are using numeric IDs, and that is why it's easy to predict that, for example, ID number 20 is present in the database, but the user with ID 4, for example, doesn't own this car. And that is why I'm searching by user ID and car ID. So I get the optional back, optional car. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to or else throw. So that is the method that returns the car entity. This is the car, and or throws the method if the car cannot be found. So I want to define the exception here, exception car not found exception. Absolutely the same way as we defined it for the users. Maybe we can store the final. This is the user ID, and this is the car ID. And we can say that we need some constructor here and some getters as well. So Yeah, and we are going to throw the car not found exception here and say that we cannot find the car by the user and the car ID. So we got the car, and we can use the mapstruct to update our entity. Yeah, thank you, IntelliJ. Let me remember how to do it. Mapstruct update existing object. Yeah, so we need to mark the entity as the mapping target, and that's it. So like this, the fields are the same. So we updated the fields, and we need to find. Sometimes the language is changing while I'm typing in IntelliJ. Looks like some of the shortcuts is the same as the language switch in Windows. So I need to work on this a little bit. Okay, we implemented the update. Let's go back to the controller, and let's implement the delete quickly. So we have this service. We need to create the delete method. Okay, it should be executed in transaction as well. So, and we can do something like that. Delete by user ID and ID. And we can return the amount of deleted entries in the database. As far as I remember, I need to mark it as a modified. At least I had to mark it as a modified in Spring Data GPA. So let's do it in the same way. And here we can say that if count is 0, that means there is no car like this, and we need to throw something like that as well. Absolutely the same. So if something is deleted, one car should be deleted. We should get 1 here, the count. If nothing is deleted, that means there is no car in the database. And the last endpoint that we want to implement, so we should get the car entities back, cars, from the service. I don't want to implement some paging here. I do not expect that user will have millions of cars or something like that. Normal user have just 1 car like I have, maybe 2 for you and for your wife. So find by user ID. And we need to convert the cars. So we can do it in the same way, I think. So we want to use the mapper and convert it to the list. Yeah, so I took the cars, iterated through the cars, and mapped each of those cars using this method and collected it to the list. So nothing unusual. Here, I don't know if it is really necessary, but in the Spring GPA, there is a very, very, very small optimization that you can say that this transaction is read-only, but I'm not sure if it will have any effect to the Spring Data GPA, but let's keep it as it is. So find all by user ID, and provide the user ID here. Okay, looks good. So we implemented 4 methods here, and I think next time we will implement the integration test to cover everything we implemented here, because we need to be first of all, we need to be sure that it's working right now, and we need to be sure that we will see the problem in the future if we will change something, right? So everything is built, and I promised to show you the implementation of the Mapstruct. So this is the interface, and this is what Mapstruct generated. As you can see, this is the generated by Mapstruct. And so it takes the car entity, it creates the response DTO, and it checks if ID is not 0. Why is it int? Again, integer. Ah, come on. It's good to know. Int. Where is int? Aha, here it is. Integer. And here the integer as well. Ah, here we can. Okay. It should be good enough. Okay, and yeah, that's much better. There is no null pointer check. It doesn't need to extract the int value from the long. It looks strange. So, and as you can see, so Mapstruct took the columns from the car entity and mapped it to the corresponding fields in the response DTO. And absolutely the same happened in service layer mapper. So we define two methods here. For example, the update. It checks that update car request DTO is not null, and just takes the fields from this request DTO and puts it into the car entity. So super easy, super fast. Looks really good for me. Yeah, so next time. By the way, if you want to follow the process of the development, please subscribe to my channel. I'm showing the full process. I'm not going to write any piece of code without you. I'm showing everything here in my streams. I'm streaming 3 times per week, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you will see the full development process from scratch to the deployment. Yeah, you will see my mistakes. Even after 15 years of experience, all developers are making mistakes. But with such amount of experience, you know how to fix it quicker, or how to find it quicker. And I will show you the whole process. Yeah, so next time we are going to implement the integration test. I will talk a little bit more about the integration test I have. Some of them are already implemented. So yeah, it's boring. I'm sorry for that. I do not like to write the test, and maybe we will ask ChatGPT Codex to help us. But in general, integration tests are really necessary and helpful. I don't like unit test a lot. It's useful, for example, when you are trying to cover the logic of some algorithm. But if you're talking about the Spring Boot application, there is a lot of different libraries. There is a Spring context. There is a different kind of properties that you need to define, validations, and so on and so on. So you need to write integration tests to realize the problems as fast as possible. And yeah, this is the GitHub for our application. So you can see the progress here. There is a very simple workflow with the build and test execution, and we will improve it a little bit later. So we will define the different release versions. We will build the Docker image here. So a lot of things I'm going to implement in the future. So please follow, press like button, and see you. What day is today? Today is Wednesday, so see you on Friday. Bye bye.